Have you ever stood in a smiling crowd and felt the bone-crushing certainty that you do not belong to the human race? You are not broken. Your agonizing exhaustion conceals a terrifying superpower. Uncover the shocking truth about your mind before the noise destroys you. Have you ever stood in the middle of a crowded, roaring room, surrounded by smiling faces, and felt the terrifying certainty that you do not belong to the human race, that you are a ghost haunting your own life, forced to wear a fleshy mask just to survive the suffocating charade of society? We are taught to fear the silence of isolation, but no one warns us about the bone-crushing, soul-draining horror of being utterly alone in a sea of people. Myth Eryndor warmly welcomes you to a journey into the hidden depths of the mind. If you have ever felt like an alien in your own skin, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Your encouragement is the vital spark that fuels our passion to create more deep, thought-provoking content for you. Close your eyes for a brief moment and summon that agonizingly familiar memory. You are standing in the epicenter of a dazzling room where brilliant lights reflect off swirling glasses of expensive wine. The heavy bass of the music thumps relentlessly against your eardrums, blending with the sharp clinking of crystal and endless hollow laughter. Everywhere you look, perfectly dressed individuals exchange overly enthusiastic greetings and endless, meaningless small talk. Right there in the very navel of this glamorous chaos, you stand with a drink in your hand, your lips mechanically stretched into a pre-programmed smile required by basic etiquette. But beneath your ribs, what do you truly feel? An asphyxiating dread, an absolute profound detachment, as if you were an extraterrestrial mistakenly abandoned on a planet whose emotional language you cannot decipher. The loneliness does not shrink in the presence of the crowd, it expands, mutating into a monstrous void that swallows you whole. Every passing second is an excruciating drainage of your vital energy. You steal glances at your watch, desperately calculating the minimum acceptable time you must endure before you can escape without being labeled a killjoy. And then comes the moment your car finally leaves that chaotic street behind, the moment the key turns in the lock and you step into the profound, dark stillness of your own room. Only then does the sigh finally escape. It is not a sigh of mere frustration. It is the absolute collapse of a spiritually depleted soul that has just spent hours acting out a role it was never meant to play. You let your body fall onto the bed, violently tearing away the invisible social mask that has adhered to your face like a parasite. In the quiet marked only by the ticking clock, you are forced to confront an eerie emptiness. Then the cruel razor-sharp questions begin to carve into your mind. Why can I not just be like them? Why can I not simply enjoy these normal human pleasures? Am I a freak of nature, a glitch in the cosmic design, fundamentally incapable of bonding with my own kind? I know that paralyzing sensation intimately, because the voice speaking to you in this very moment, was once a prisoner serving a life sentence of self-doubt. For an agonizingly long chapter of my past, I violently forced myself into every gathering. I was terrified of being left behind, terrified of the pitying stares people gave me when I stood by myself. I nodded vigorously at stories that bored me to tears. I forced laughter at utterly flavorless jokes, and I swallowed bitter liquor just to purchase a temporary boarding pass to the illusion of belonging. But what was the ultimate price of this conformity? After every desperate attempt to integrate, I crawled back home with a soul covered in microscopic lacerations, my internal battery so thoroughly destroyed that it felt beyond repair. I began to harbor a deep resentment toward my own reflection. I branded myself a social failure, gazing at extroverts, those loud, charismatic magnets of attention with a toxic mixture of intense craving and pathetic self-pity. How could they devour the energy of the crowd so effortlessly while that same crowd bled me dry to my very last drop of vitality? We exist in a world ruthlessly tailored for the loud. From the structured chaos of schools to the cutthroat arenas of modern workplaces, the system exclusively glorifies the aggressive, the hyper-connected, and the ceaselessly enthusiastic. Society has rigidly drawn the parameters of success and happiness, anchoring them permanently to the concept of the herd. If you choose to spend a Saturday night in solitary reflection, you are pitied. If your phone's contact list is sparse, you are dismissed as a loser. These venomous prejudices seep into our subconscious from childhood, brainwashing us into believing that our craving for stillness is a mental illness to be cured and our solitude is a terrifying ghost we must outrun at all costs. Tonight, in this intimate space, shared only by you and me amidst the quietest frequencies of true understanding, I need to tell you a fundamental truth. Your exhaustion is profoundly real and it is entirely justified. Your total burnout after socializing is not a symptom of weakness. It is the raw, untamed voice of your authentic self, violently refusing to be homogenized. You are not broken. Your heart and your mind are reacting with perfect, robust health to an insidious, toxic environment that humanity has tragically normalized. Let me help you untie the heavy, suffocating knots of inferiority that have weighed down your shoulders for far too long. To untie those suffocating knots, we must first journey into the very architecture of your mind to understand how you uniquely perceive the universe. You see, the extroverted world experiences a crowded room as a single harmonious event, a mere background noise against which they can comfortably project their own voices. But for you and for me, that same room is not a single event. It is a chaotic collision of 1,000 simultaneous micro-realities. When you step into a gathering, your brain does not simply register the presence of others. It absorbs every minuscule detail with the intensity of a sponge submerged in dark waters. You pick up on the subtle, anxious shift in someone's posture, the fleeting micro-expressions of boredom on a stranger's face, the aggressive undertones masked by a polite tone, and the overwhelming colliding auras of 50 different emotional states, all demanding your subconscious attention. Your nervous system is not broken. It is merely functioning without the thick, calloused filters that shield the average person from the agonizing complexities of human interaction. You are essentially trying to drink from a fire hose of sensory and emotional data, which makes your rapid exhaustion a biological inevitability, not a character flaw. For years, I cursed my own sensitivity, viewing it as a tragic vulnerability that rendered me unfit for the harsh demands of reality. I wondered why a simple dinner party felt like a psychological marathon, why the harsh fluorescent lights of an office physically hurt me, and why absorbing the pain of a friend left me bedridden for days. It took a devastating amount of self-flagellation before I finally realized that what society labels as oversensitivity is actually the highest form of human perception. You possess an exquisite internal radar, an antennae so finely tuned that it captures the silent frequencies of the world, the unspoken grief, the hidden joy, the poetic melancholy of existence that the loud majority tramples right over. You do not just live in the world lives intensely inside of you. When you are forced to process this avalanche of stimuli while simultaneously maintaining a socially acceptable facade, your soul goes into a state of critical emergency. The exhaustion you feel is the heavy toll of deep processing. Therefore, berating yourself for needing to withdraw is like punishing your lungs for needing oxygen after a sprint. The fatigue is not a sign of your inadequacy, but rather an undeniable testament to a profound internal depth. When you finally embrace this profound internal depth, the terrifying isolation of a quiet room miraculously transforms into a boundless sanctuary. Society has done a phenomenal job of weaponizing the concept of being alone, painting it as a desolate wasteland, reserved for the unloved and the awkward. We are conditioned to panic at the onset of silence, desperately reaching for our phones, turning on the television, or seeking out any form of meaningless distraction to drown out the echoes of our own minds. But true solitude is not a punishment. It is an art form. It is the sacred laboratory where the fragmented pieces of your overstimulated soul are carefully glued back together. I remember the exact evening I stopped running from my own company. I had declined a major social invitation, battling the fierce waves of guilt and the terrifying fear of missing out. Yet as the evening unfolded in absolute silence, I felt a strange, intoxicating liberation. I was alone, but for the first time in my life, I was not lonely. In the embrace of true solitude, you are no longer required to translate your essence into a language that others can easily digest. You do not have to smile, you do not have to nod, you do not have to perform. You are allowed to exist in your rawest, most unedited form. This is where your creativity, so often stifled by the noise of the herd, finally stretches its wings. It is in these quiet hours that the deepest reflections occur, where the heavy sediments of daily anxiety sink to the bottom, leaving your mind clear and tranquil. You begin to curate your physical space, not as a hideout from a hostile world, but as a temple dedicated to your own peace. The soft glow of a solitary lamp, the texture of a worn book, the steaming cup of tea, these stop being mere objects and become the vital rituals of your self-preservation. Solitude becomes a deliberate choice, a fierce declaration of independence against a world that demands constant, exhausting accessibility. You slowly realize that enjoying a Saturday night in the company of your own thoughts is a profound luxury, an unwavering fortress where your spirit can finally breathe. Yet guarding this unwavering fortress demands the brutal, unapologetic courage to sever the superficial threads that continually drain your spirit. We hold on to relationships out of habit, out of nostalgia, and most dangerously out of the paralyzing fear that if we let go, we will be left entirely alone in the void. For introverts and deep feelers, friendships and social obligations often resemble a collection of parasitic vines tightly wrapped around our necks. You know exactly the type of people I am referring to, the energy vampires who only call when they need an audience, the toxic acquaintances who make you feel utterly invisible, even when you are sitting right next to them, the groups where you have to aggressively shrink your intellect and depth just to fit into their shallow conversations. For the longest time, I allowed these people to continuously withdraw from my emotional bank account until I was entirely bankrupt. I thought that establishing boundaries was an act of cruelty, a selfish betrayal of human connection. But true self-respect is born in the agonizing moment you finally say no. It is a two-letter word that carries the explosive power of a revolution. Declining an invitation without offering a sprawling apologetic excuse is an act of supreme elegance. When you begin to ruthlessly audit your social circle, a painful shedding of skin occurs. You will lose people. You will be called antisocial, arrogant, or difficult. Let them misunderstand you. Their misunderstanding is the necessary price you pay for your own emotional survival. You are no longer willing to exchange your mental health for a counterfeit sense of belonging. The moment you stop scattering your precious energy among dozens of superficial acquaintances, you discover the profound beauty of deliberate, intentional intimacy. You realize that you only ever needed one or two authentic connections, people who can sit with you in absolute silence without feeling the neurotic urge to fill the air with meaningless chatter. People who understand that your withdrawal is a period of hibernation, not a personal rejection. You begin to trade the terrifying fear of missing out for the exquisite joy of missing out, reserving your fierce, loyal love only for the rare, luminous souls who speak your silent language. Surrounded only by those luminous souls, and rooted deeply in your own quiet power, you realize that your silence was never a surrender, but a revolution. We have been lied to by a culture that equates volume with value and visibility with impact. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one holding the deepest wisdom. They are often just the one most terrified of the silence. Once you strip away the heavy armor of societal expectations, you uncover the immense hidden leverage of the quiet observer. Because you spend your life actively listening rather than endlessly speaking, you understand the intricate mechanics of human nature better than anyone else. You see the unspoken motives, you anticipate the emotional shifts, and you perceive the invisible threads that connect the chaotic events of the world. This is not a weakness. This is a quiet, formidable superpower. The world is drowning in noise, choking on the endless stream of superficial opinions and aggressive posturing. What the universe desperately needs right now is not more loud voices, but more deep thinkers, more empathetic listeners, more gentle souls who anchor the chaotic storms with their profound stillness. I look back at the terrified version of myself standing in the middle of those suffocating parties, desperately wishing to be someone else, and I feel a wave of profound compassion. I wish I could reach back through time and tell that agonizingly lonely person that the ghost they felt like was actually a giant in the making. Your introversion, your sensitivity, your deep, unquenchable thirst for solitude, these are the very pillars of your greatness. Do not apologize for your quietness. Do not shrink yourself to fit into rooms that were never designed to hold your expansive spirit. As you walk out of the shadows of self-doubt today, I want you to carry this truth deep within your bones. You are not a defective extrovert, nor are you a glitch in the cosmic design. You are the deep, majestic ocean beneath the chaotic waves, harboring mysteries and strengths that the surface dwellers will never comprehend. Reclaim your space, honor your profound nature, and let your quiet light shine with an intensity that the loud world cannot help but fiercely respect. Fanket. To walk the path of the highly sensitive introvert is not to endure a life of inherent deficiency, but to possess an extraordinary, profound superpower in a world that mistakenly glorifies endless noise. The chaotic barrage of sensory and emotional data you experience daily is not a sign of brokenness. It is the ultimate expression of human empathy and exquisitely deep perception. When you finally stop punishing yourself for needing to retreat and stop viewing your exhaustion as a character flaw, you unlock the sacred architecture of solitude. This solitude transforms from a place of isolation into a sanctuary where your overstimulated soul can breathe, heal, and cultivate its unedited creative essence. Guarding this quiet fortress, however, requires the unapologetic courage to ruthlessly sever ties with energy vampires and superficial obligations. Saying no without guilt becomes an elegant revolutionary act of profound self-respect, clearing the necessary space for deliberate, authentic intimacy with those rare luminous souls who truly understand your silent language. Ultimately, your quietness is not a retreat or a surrender, but a formidable, unyielding strength. In a culture choking on superficial chatter and aggressive posturing, the deep thinker and the empathetic listener are the vital anchors the universe desperately needs. You are not a defective extrovert. You are a majestic ocean of hidden quiet strength. Embracing this undeniable truth allows you to reclaim your space, honor your profound depth, and radiate a quiet, powerful light that demands immense respect. To walk the path of the highly sensitive introvert is not to endure a life of inherent deficiency, but to possess an extraordinary, profound superpower in a world that mistakenly glorifies endless noise. The chaotic barrage of sensory and emotional data you experience daily is not a sign of brokenness. It is the ultimate expression of human empathy and exquisitely deep perception. When you finally stop punishing yourself for needing to retreat and stop viewing your exhaustion as a character flaw, you unlock the sacred architecture of solitude. This solitude transforms from a place of isolation into a sanctuary where your overstimulated soul can breathe, heal, and cultivate its unedited creative essence. Guarding this quiet fortress, however, requires the unapologetic courage to ruthlessly sever ties with energy vampires and superficial obligations. Saying no without guilt becomes an elegant revolutionary act of profound self-respect, clearing the necessary space for deliberate, authentic intimacy with those rare, luminous souls who truly understand your silent language. Ultimately, your quietness is not a retreat or a surrender, but a formidable, unyielding strength. In a culture choking on superficial chatter and aggressive posturing, the deep thinker and the empathetic listener are the vital anchors the universe desperately needs. You are not a defective extrovert. You are a majestic ocean of hidden, quiet strength. Embracing this undeniable truth allows you to reclaim your space, honor your profound depth, and radiate a quiet, powerful light that demands immense respect. The profound lesson: sensitivity and introversion are not biological flaws to be cured, but high-frequency emotional radars to be protected. True belonging never requires you to shrink your intellect, mask your depth, or exhaust your spirit to fit into superficial spaces. Self-preservation through deliberate solitude and strict boundaries is not an act of cruelty, but the absolute highest form of self-respect. How to apply this to your life today? Ruthlessly audit your social circle. Identify the people who act as energy drains, those who only seek an audience or leave you feeling exhausted and unseen. Consciously dial back your energetic and emotional investment in these one-sided dynamics. Practice the elegant no. Start declining social invitations that feel like heavy obligations. Practice saying, "I won't be able to make it," without offering a sprawling, desperate apology. Let your no be a complete, confident sentence. Curate a sacred solitude ritual. Block out non-negotiable time in your week solely for your own company. Create a physical space in your home dedicated to peace. Turn on a soft lamp, make a cup of tea, and allow yourself to exist in pure silence to detox from the noise of the external world. Question for the community: what is your absolute favorite way to recharge your energy when you finally get some quiet time to yourself? Please kindly share your answers and perspectives in the comment section below so we can all read, relate, and draw inspiration from each other. If you found value in this message, please subscribe to the channel to support us. Your support gives us the incredible motivation to keep creating deep, meaningful content like this for you.